Journal featuring Walter Winchell. Mr. Winchell, whose famous column appears in the New York Daily Mirror and other newspapers with more than 25 million readers, is brought to you by Jergens, the lotion for soft, smooth, romantic hands.
And they said, wouldn't you like this jar of new Dryad deodorant free? A jar of Dryad deodorant free? Did they mean it?
Indeed, we do mean it. A regular 25-cent jar of new Dryad deodorant is offered to you free now when you buy a 50-cent bottle of your favorite Jergens lotion. Pay the usual 39 cents plus tax for Jergens lotion. Accept the jar of new Dryad deodorant as a gift. A lovely gift. New Dryad is the cream deodorant doctors, leading skin specialists approve. And Jergens lotion is the lovely hand care the Hollywood stars use. And it's finer than ever today. Save some money. Buy Jergens gift combination. Use today's Jergens lotion for just 2 weeks. If you aren't delighted, mail it back to the Andrew Jergens Company, Cincinnati 14, Ohio, and they'll return your money. You keep the jar of creamy new Dryad deodorant as your free gift. And now, ladies and gentlemen, Walter Winchell.
Attention, Mr. and Mrs. United States. The Russian delegation lost its fight to have the United Nations pass a resolution to jail all warmongers. Instead, the United Nations agreed to denounce and condemn warmongering. What is a warmonger? Was Paul Revere a warmonger? History doesn't call him that. Although if Paul hadn't made his ride that night in 1775, there certainly wouldn't have been any fighting. There wouldn't have been any United States either. The rest of this, ladies and gentlemen, is respectfully directed to Mr. Trigby Lee and the others at the United Nations, who nearly every Monday morning request copies of my remarks of the night before. It is very important to me that they listen carefully, because I may be denounced and condemned by the United Nations for what I will now say. Your Excellency and members of the UN assembled at Lake Success, when do I stop being a reporter and an American and become a warmonger? If some potential enemy or unfriendly foreign visitor is planning to hurt my country from the air or underground, and I know it, should I forget it or risk being held up to scorn and public ridicule by you of the United Nations? You may say to me, no, don't forget it. Just send what you have along to Washington. Someone you know in Congress, the Senate, the White House, the State Department, or the Department of Justice. But, Walter, don't get so excited and frighten the people of 48 states by telling them the truth. Well, Your Excellencies, I guess you'd better start practicing your very first warmonger condemnation. Because I am going to tell what I hear and know to the American people and not to anybody in official Washington. I'm tired and I'm done taking that 5 minutes after 4 o'clock every morning New York to Washington train without sleep to report things against the security of our country. I did that for a dozen years. And I tell you, most of the time, nothing ever came of it. Because there are too many men and women in and out of the White House, the State Department, Congress, and the Department of Justice who are either left, right, or indifferent. Therefore, I shall continue to report directly to the people and let the people take it from there. Mr. and Mrs. North and South America and all the ships at sea, is this news or warmongering? Let's go to press. Lake Success. The current issue of the magazine called United Nations World contains a most enlightening article by Admiral Zacharias. He reports that weapons now exist which could wipe off the earth every human being, animal, and all vegetable life. This American admiral, who distinguished himself during the war, added as follows, quotes, "These weapons are being manufactured right now. They are not an American monopoly. several nations are known to have them. They are, Admiral Zacharias continues, of a bacteriological and biological nature, end quote. That, ladies and gentlemen, confirms in part what I reported a few broadcasts ago and for which some sources denounced me. Tokyo. The reason behind the Russian government's offer for withdrawal of all troops from Korea is simple. A packaged revolution is all ready. Communists would seize the Korean government within a month. Mexico City. The Comintern will open a big drive in Latin America, charging the United States with mistreating American Indians on U.S. reservations. The fact is that our Indian affairs badly need correction. Washington. The State Department is deeply concerned about the activities of the Polish and Yugoslavian culture representatives now touring the United States. Stockholm. Sweden, it appears, bet on the wrong horse. Expecting an American depression, Sweden tied herself up with Russian economy, and now Sweden needs American help to fill her Soviet orders. Belgrade. The biggest double talk and laugh, perhaps, of the week was this. Two top Russian leaders flatly contradicted each other. In Moscow, Mr. Molotov told the anxious, helpless Russian people that the atomic bomb was no longer a secret. In Belgrade, Russia's Mr. Zadnov told a Cominform meeting that America had a monopoly. Obviously, there is no monopoly in Russia on lying. Moscow. Last Sunday night, I told you how to recognize a communist over here. Because, among other ways, I said a commie believes that Stalin is infallible. The other day, according to the dispatches in all the newspapers, 26 million Russian youths not only thanked Stalin for their lives and education, but they said the son should be called Joseph Stalin, quote, because Stalin is the son of the earth. Son of the what? Buenos Aires. Dictator Perón's plan of courting Italian emigration has turned into a laughable international scandal. The first boatload of so-called laborers there turned out to be very wealthy Italians disguised in overalls. Dictator Perón, who shuts down independent newspapers and jails liberal university profs and students, met these phonies at the pier. The Washington ticker. The State Department has turned down the request of a dozen Harvard students to visit Yugoslavia. These students are boiling as no reason was given. I assume they wanted to see for themselves what the newspapers have stated about Tito and his alleged no-commie alliance. The Navy Department. When Admiral Nimitz retires, his successor as Chief of Naval Operations will be Admiral D.C. Ramsey. He's an airman, too. Washington. The Civil Rights Committee. Members are privately applauding John Edgar Hoover, the G-Man, for a magnificent job of protecting civil rights. Why privately? The White House. The Inner Circle and Congress will clash on the administration of the Marshall Plan. The White Houses want a government agency. The Republican leaders want a corporation. There will be voted, I am told, interim aid for Europe. Mr. Winthrop Aldrich, the chairman of Chase National Bank, is a very big factor behind the scenes. Washington. The administration will demand universal military training in the January session. Arlington. The price of our free press, the American newspaper, which reminds you that Tuesday next is Armistice Day, is usually a nickel or 2 cents. Plus 1.5 million wounded Americans and 350,000 Americans killed in action. To every young American, your country is quietly calling for help. See the Enlistment Bureau in your community for details. Mr. Jergens, the front page story in today's New York Herald Tribune that a German army of 1.5 million men was organized in Russia was reported by the Jergens Journal editor about a year ago.
Pardon me, Mr. Winchell. I'd like to insert something in the classified columns of the Journal.
Henry Morgan, I've heard you on the radio.
Thanks a lot. I'd like to read this if you don't mind. Situation wanted male. Young comedian will be unemployed December 3rd. Prospective sponsors, please contact Henry Morgan, care of the Jergens Journal. Thanks very much.
Well, I hope you get a sponsor, Henry. And now, Mr. James Banner for Jergens.
I wonder, After I get married, should I keep on with my job?
Well, that is a problem. It takes some doing to manage a household and a job, but one thing is sure. You can do dishes and laundry and your housework and still have lovely hands. Depend on Jergens lotion. Today's Jergens lotion protects your hands longer than ever against kitchen work roughness. And thanks to recent skincare research, today's Jergens lotion makes your hands feel softer and look smoother than ever.
Then I guess lots of married girls use Jergens lotion.
They certainly do. Young marrieds use Jergens lotion nearly 4-to-1 over any other hand care in the world.
I know. My married sister always uses Jergens. She keeps an extra bottle in her kitchen.
That's a smart idea. Saves time and reminds you to use your Jergens lotion regularly. That's the secret of nice soft hands. Regular use of today's Jergens lotion. Still 10 cents to $1 plus tax. Don't disillusion that young husband of yours. Have the dearest, softest hands like other smart young marrieds. Always use Jergens lotion. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Walter Winchell.
Ladies and gentlemen, husbands, wives, sweethearts, and boys and girls. Here's your chance to get your mother, wife, or yourself a $10,000 mink coat, brand new. The $10,000 mink coat is a gift to the Damon Runyon Memorial Fund by the Associated Fur Manufacturers Incorporated. Just send $1 to help the Runyon Committee fight cancer and submit an original definition of a communist in 20 words or less. The Runyon Fund Committee is the final judge of the best and original definition of a communist in this contest of skill. The contest closes Saturday midnight, December the 13th, 1947. And the person submitting the best definition of a communist will be announced by Santa Claus on my broadcast of Sunday night, December 21st, 1947. Just in time to give your mother, wife, sweetheart, or yourself a Merry Christmas. Now listen carefully, please, to the address. Runyon Cancer Fund, Care Postmaster, New York City. Please, don't disqualify yourself and don't send it to me or any radio station or newspaper, because that will disqualify your entry. Send $1 to help fight cancer and your definition of a communist only to the Runyon Cancer Fund, Postmaster, New York City. To the Los Angeles Herald Express, Jack Briskin, the head of the Revere Camera Company of Chicago, sent me $25,000 yesterday for the Runyon Cancer Fund. He is Betty Hutton's father-in-law. Thank you very much, Mr. Briskin. Attention, Oregon, West Coast shipping. Astoria, Oregon. 2 more Japanese mines have washed ashore on Oregon beaches. The commandant of the 13th Naval District warns all coast shipping to be on the alert while in Pacific Northwest coastal waters. And that, ladies and gentlemen, winds up another Jergens Journal. Until next Sunday night at the very same time. Until then, and with lotions of love, I remain your New York correspondent, Walter Winchell, who leaves you with this. Russia keeps cursing Americans for being capitalists. They'd sure be in a heck of a fix if we were paupers. Good night.
Everyone is talking about the new look in fashion, a soft, ladylike look. And Jergens meets this fashion trend with a new, frankly feminine makeup color, pink frosting in Matchmates. Do try pink frosting powder. You'll be amazed at how a soft undertone of pink brings instant enchantment to your complexion. And try pink frosting lipstick across your lips. It's the new bright light shade for the new look. It's a wonderful makeup shade for the colors in fashion this fall and winter. You'll find pink frosting powder and lipstick together in the large Matchmates box at $1. Or try pink frosting powder in the 10-cent and 25-cent sizes. Yes, have the romantic new look with pink frosting. Next week, another edition of the Jergens Journal with Walter Winchell. And now be sure to remain tuned for Luella Parsons' 15-minute program featuring his guest Joan Crawford, which follows immediately. This is Jim Bannon speaking.